Hi, I am Karthik Rannan. I am the president of the Wall Street Club of BITS Pilani Hyderabad campus. Yes, so the collaboration with XLR was an excellent one. We conducted a Power BI workshop with Advanced Excel over a span of 3 days. The workshop was almost 12 hours long in total. Mr. Karthik, who was an amazing trainer, helped the students understand the concepts deeply. I am sure that the students will be able to apply these concepts in their careers as well as their daily lives while they try to navigate the world of finance. I am happy that we will be able to close this workshop successfully on a very good note.
Hi, I am Raghunendra Singh and I am the Technical Director of the Wall Street Club at BITS Pilani Hyderabad campus. It was a great amazing conducting this workshop with XLR. The trainer, Mr. Karthik, was an excellent person where he explained in very detailed manner on how to give great insights using very complex data sets, which was very helpful for the people who are interested in the field of finance, business or analytics in general. Thank you.
I attended a workshop conducted by CSA and ACM in collaboration with XLR. So it was a machine learning workshop. We learned a lot from the course and it was a great experience attending the workshop.
The trainer was very helpful. He had a hands-on approach with his teaching and it was fabulous.
This was a great experience for me. So I would absolutely love it if XLR and its team would come again to our campus and conduct more events like this.
The journey was great. Initially, I thought that I was not proficient enough in Excel, but later I came to know there was no prerequisites for it, and then I applied for it, and it was a great course, and it started from basics and took me to a great extent.
Good evening, myself Kavya Ganatra. I am from Computer Science Association. I was the POC for this ML workshop conducted by CSA and ACM in collaboration with XLR. The experience of the workshop was really nice. The feedback from all the students was positive. They understood the concept. The workshop was also practical based with some questions. The experience with XLR was very smooth. They helped us in conducting the workshop smoothly right from the booking of the vendor and deciding the course till the distribution of certificates. In overall, this workshop was a success during our Technical Fest Atmos, and I thank XLR for being a part of it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Tasneem. I'm the Senior Manager at 98 Percentile in the HR department. And today we did a wonderful drive with XLR. It was amazing right from the very beginning, from the very first day when I got in touch with them till today. I think it was an extremely smooth journey with them. There were multiple follow-ups done by the representatives in order to check that we would be, what time would be coming, how many people would be coming, what vehicle we would get. To that extent, they were so precise in giving all the information to us. It was extremely great to get associated with them and have a drive at XLR campus. So we are very, very happy that we got a chance to do this. Now, coming to the students, what XLR had, I think they were extremely enthusiastic. They were well prepared. They were aware of what they are coming for. I think there was some back-end preparation which they did that was commendable. They also were very confident and they were open to any kind of thing we were asking them to do. That was I think the best part. Now, I really hope we have a very, very fruitful association with each one of them and XLR in future. We are really looking forward to have many more drives like this.
Hi everyone, my name is Prachi Sharma and I'm the Senior Project Manager for IT Department at 90th Percentile. So today we were here for this IT bootcamp, right, this technical drive and at XLR. So it was a great experience and I would feel that the students, they are the freshers, right, but it doesn't seem like that. So if I talk about their technical and cognitive ability, they all seems pretty good in that and that's what I felt. And I guess they have been taught pretty well at XLR, so that's how they have performed good in their aptitude and the technical tests. So I wish them all the best and it was a very great experience over here.
Hi, this is Patan, Technology Consulting Manager from 98th Percentile. We visited XLR for the campus placement drive and it went very well today. Miss Ambika, Miss Pragati, everyone received us greatly here and we had a lot of enjoyable time here. The students even had great experience with us. They were interactive, they had good aptitude and all the technological skills they showed. I think they were all well and we really appreciate their time that they spared to us and I think we will be doing a great job. We are expecting a lot of people to be hired from them. Let's see. It was a great experience altogether.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
From entering into the cyber tower to exiting out of this tower, the XLR team has been received me with such a care and pleasure.
I am the part of this XLR since 4 months. From the third month itself, they have conducted the placement sessions from the third month itself, and this is the fourth month, and this is the 98th percentile is one of the placement drive I have attended so far, and attending to this drive is such a good experience for me. All the HRs and the team made us feel very comfortable and confident.
XLR helped me a lot, and I experienced a lot of things today. So I'm really hope to be I placed in that company. I'm confident about that. Thank you.
So, Aishwarya, you can start the session.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, good evening. So welcome back to the class. So in the previous section, we had understood about the asymmetric encryptions. Along with that, we have seen the different domains used in the cybersecurity, right? So in today's session, that would be a last workshop. Okay, so today would be a last workshop. So what we are going to understand in today's section, so we would be understanding about the web application security risk. Okay. Okay. So OF's top 10 vulnerabilities only, we're going to understand it. So we have, if you currently look into this screen, we have 2017 and 2021 web securities. Okay, what are those? Those are nothing but the vulnerabilities. So it has been updated to 2021, and we would be discussing one after the other. So we'll start with the broken access control. So broken access control is nothing but, so any idea before I tell about the broken access control? We have already discussed about about the broken access control. So do you have any idea about it? This is the security blocks. If you go back and revise the topic about the security blocks, we would have come across with the broken access control. No idea. So from here, Yes. See, whatever the top 10 vulnerabilities we are going to discuss, everything is going to fall into the security building blocks itself, where we have authentication, authorization, auditing, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay. So currently, we were discussing about the broken access control. So that would be falling under the availability, or you can tell about the authorization. So the basically it is going to fall under the authorization. Authorization is nothing but for an already authenticated client, what resources can she access, or an action what need to be performed is an authorization, right? Same way coming here with the broken access control, what happens in the broken access control, it is a common attack. Okay, when an application, when you try to create an application, when it does not properly enforces the restrictions or on what authenticated user are allowed to do. For example, there is an application which has been provided by the client. Okay, so that application is not being restricted. Restricted means they've not given a proper role based on the users. Okay, a role based access need to be provided. What is role based access is the example which I want to give it is the Zoom meeting. Okay, in the Zoom meeting, what happens? Each and everybody have a different role, right? The XLR need to give me the permission, and I would have an access to unmute myself and speak. And if similarly, if I give a permission to you to unmute, then you would have an access to unmute yourself and to speak. So each one of us have a different role. So similarly, whenever a web application is being created, whenever you're working on a website, what need to be first seen is whether they have an admin access. Okay, for example, like there is a privilege access. Privilege accesses, each and every role is going to have a different access, right? An admin is going to have an access to edit the application, modify the application, and normal user would not be having an edit options, right? So how do we secure this broken access control? Broken access control is going to have a role-based access control. Based on the role, you're going to provide the access. And similarly, you deny by default. Default, if you're giving a default password, okay, default access if you're giving, that is giving an access to everybody. So when you do that way, it would be easier for attacker to get involved and to crash the system. Okay, understood about the broken access control? We'll see a few example on information disclosure and on the SQL injection. The practical will have a look into it. So everybody got an idea about the broken access control? Now coming to the cryptographic failures. Cryptographic failures is nothing but the last two classes we have seen about the cryptographic. Cryptographic is nothing but how do you encrypt, how do you secure your data so that an attacker would not steal any of the personal information or any private or any sensitive information would not be stolen. That is why we were using an encryption method, right? So that encryption method, how do you encrypt the data? If you're using an old algorithms or the outdated algorithms and you're trying to update any data. For example, we have in hashing, the outdated or weak hashing method is going to be MDS and then SHA-1. Okay, these are the outdated hashing passwords. So when you try to use the outdated password, it would be easier for an attacker to get into your data. So we need to make sure that we don't use any outdated encryption method. Cryptographic failure, again I'm telling, it occurs when a cryptographic system are improperly implemented, or when a data should not be encrypted, or when a data is not encrypted at all, or it is using any outdated method algorithm to encrypt the data. So this failures can lead to unauthorized access to a sensitive information. That sensitive information can be a password, it can be some health related medical records, or it can be a personal data, or it can be also a credit card details. That is what a cryptography failure is being used. So how do we prevent this cryptography failure? by properly securing the data. For example, we use a proper key management. So proper key management is nothing but where we store and manage the cryptographic keys. So you can use asymmetric encryption or you can use a symmetric encryption. And how do you store it? By using some hashing method, we try to store the data. And then we use strong cryptographic algorithm. What is a strong cryptographic algorithm? Is it symmetric encryption is a strong or asymmetric encryption is strong? Which one do you think is strong? Using same key or using different key to encrypt and decrypt it? Which one do you think is the strong encryption method? No idea? Different key, correct. Asymmetric method, right? In the asymmetric, we had various different algorithm, AES algorithm, DES algorithm. So those are known for strong cryptographic algorithms. Okay, so you can use asymmetric encryption, and but mostly used like easy way of transferring the data would be symmetric one, because private and public you would take long time to secure the data, but it is strong. Okay, but it is a time consuming, but symmetric encryption is like not time consuming because you can use the same key to encrypt and decrypt method. But here you should be using generate a public key, you need to generate a private keys, and then you need to use SSL certificates to do it. Okay, this is a lengthier process. Okay, but in the real times, if you see, if you have a look, symmetric also being used, asymmetric also being used. Symmetric is easier to implementation. Okay, and it's not very complex like asymmetric encryption, but asymmetric also is being used. The reason is it's strong cryptographic algorithm. That is why it is being used. Coming to the third one, that is injection. Injection is nothing but, so normal when you have a fever, what you do? You take a medicines, take an injection, and then you're being cured, right? Same way here, this is the opposite way of it. Okay, what is injection is you're trying to ingest some malicious activity to your website and try to harm the system or trying to crash the application. That is what is injection is all about. I repeat again, injection attack occurs when an attacker sends untrusted data to a user. Untrusted data can be unauthorized applications or illegal website is being shared to a user without user knowledge. Without a user knowledge, what is happening? An attacker is tricking or a attacker is tricking a user to click on the specific data. So this injection is also going to fall under the social engineering attack. When you click on something, okay, when you click on the data, when you click on login options, it would be redirecting to some specific page. How that is being happening with the help of SQL injection. This is there are different types of injections are being used. SQL injection. So SQL stands for structured query language. Structured query language, why it is being used? For query purpose, for storing up the data on the database, and to send some query to the database, we would be using an SQL command. So if you have come across with the SQL, like on the database, if you want to steal some data or manipulate some data or inject some data can be done with the help of a injection attack. There is also no SQL injection. No SQL injection is going to be without no SQL database. The data are going to be written in terms of JSON format. And then you have OS command injection. Okay, injecting directly to your operating system. Also, you have many other injection attacks also been done. So how do you prevent it? So we would be preventing it with the frameworks. Okay, we would be using a strong frameworks to prevent it. We would be validating and sanitize the input. What is validate? To verify what is the input you're trying to provide. Okay, always verify or validate the input against the values, whatever it is acceptable. Sanitize inputs to remove any dangerous character has been implemented. That is what is injection and how to prevent it. The next one is insecure design. So insecure design is something which is very important. Okay. When you try working on a website, you're trying to create or a client has created some website, it is very much required to have a proper plan. You start constructing a home. Before you start constructing your home, you need to properly plan what need to be used, how are you going to construct it, okay, and how are you going to protect it, where exactly you would be constructing a gate, what is the length of the gate, okay, and are you going to use any CCTV cameras? These and all the things which you're going to focus on before you start constructing. What is the plan, what is the budget, everything. Same way here also with the secure design I'm talking about. In the secure design, what happens is it is going to be insecure. So insecure design is going to be referred to the security flaws. Okay, this is the security weakness that is going to be assigned or that is going to be arising by design process. In the design process, like when the architectures, when the logical foundation is in, if it is not being properly implemented, then this insecure design is be going to happen. Lack of security requirement. There is something known as threat modeling. Okay, threat modeling. Have you ever heard about threat modeling? Threat modeling, no idea. Okay, so that is something like a mind map. Okay, so imagine you have created a website. Not you have created, you have a application from, so this is your website. So this website is going to take an input from the user. Okay, you need to mind map where exactly it is connected, how exactly the data is being transferred. Okay, and what is the data flow? In simple, your threat modeling is used to find out the threats. Okay, in an application based on the vulnerability, what is the threat that is going to happen? That is what you're going to do it with the help of threat model. So this is your website. Okay, a client have provided with you a website. Now you as a security need to figure it out what might happen to this website. So there might be a login page which will be created by a website. Okay, a login page would be created where a user need to provide the input. Okay, that input would be shared, right? That input is going to be stored to a database. And in the database, what type of connectivity you're using? User interface, I can give it here. User interface. User interface. Okay. And then how are you going to connect to the website? You have, I'm using SQL. For example, I'm using SQL to store up the data to the SQL command with using some framework. Django as a framework I'm trying to use. Okay. Now this website is created in what format, with what protocol the website is being created, that you need to know. Okay. User are being sanitized or validated, you need to know. Okay. When the user input is being provided, are those input are secure? Are they using any type of encryption? That you're going to focus on. In the SQL database, how the database is being stored. Are they stored in the plain text? Are they using any secure way of storing? Those are the activity or a security engineer need to focus on. So that would be done with the help of a threat modeling. Threat modeling is nothing but where you do a mind map how a connection is being happening. So when you do a threat modeling, what happens? You would know where exactly the flaws are going to occur. So there are various different threat modeling methodology being used. The one of the methodology is STRIDE. Okay, STRIDE stands for spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privileges. Okay, this is one of the methodology where a threat modeling or a system engineer or not a system security engineer is going to work on. There is a pasta also is being used, but the mostly used one is strike. Spoofing. Spoofing is, any idea about spoofing? These are the normal words only, right? No idea? So spoofing is basically pretending to be somebody else. Okay, you're trying to be. So that is would also being coming under the category of spoofing. So if a user, if any attacker can spoof, can get into your system or not. Okay, spoofing is again going to be pretending to be someone or something other than yourself is spoofing. So this methodology, if you use, it is going to tell whether the spoofing is happening in your system or not. Then tampering with the data. Tampering is modification, modifying something on the website. Okay, whether any modification can be done with that would be figured out with the help of T, tampering with the data. Then is repudiation. Repudiation is nothing but that would be coming under the category of auditing, claiming that you did not do anything or you have done something, but you're claiming to tell that you did not do anything. Okay. Then we have information disclosure. Information disclosure would be providing an information to somebody which who are not authorized. Okay, who are not giving an access to an unauthorized user. Then you have denial of service. Denial of service is nothing but exhausting the resources needed to provide a service. You try to provide. There is a limitation. Okay, a feedback form is being provided or registration form is being provided, there would be a limit. Or in the classroom also, not more than 100 participants would be able to join. There would be some restriction would be provided, right? So same way, if you try to join or if you give a limit where when it goes in overflow, what happens? A denial of service attack would happen. When you try to exhaust the resources, it would be crashing of the system. And the last is elevation of privileges. This would be coming under the category of authorization, where based on the role-based access, you're going to give an access. Role-based access, what happens? Based on the role, you're going to provide the access. Not everybody should be having the access, admin access. If they do, then it would be easy for the attacker to get into the system. Understood? Clear, everyone? Now coming to security misconfiguration. So security misconfiguration is something like when you try to improperly implement or left any of your input as default. Okay, there would be a default password and default username, right? Username would be admin, password would be password itself. When you use a default statement or use a default state, what happens? Which is going to give a vulnerable to your system, which is basically a vulnerable of your system. So this would be happening in various different levels, including in the application. It can happen in the database. It can happen in the networks. Okay, Wi-Fi. If you're using a Wi-Fi connectivity, and when you use a route, when there would be a default password will be provided. So I'm using Act. Okay, so Act would have a default password. All the Act user would have a default password as Act 12345. Okay, what happens when you use a there is a password, there is a username is provided, but still what happens? It is default to everybody. So what you need to do? Anybody uh, just they Google, they would get to know about the default password. Okay, and they would be able to use my internet connectivity. So what I have to do is I have to go ahead and try to provide a new password, and that password should be a bit complex so the nobody would be able to figure it out. Okay, that is what a security misconfiguration happens when you don't configure it properly. When you use a default state, this misconfiguration would be happening. When you give and how are we going to prevent this security misconfiguration is by regularly updating it, enabling the security modules, okay, using an updated operating system, upgraded versions of any of the modules if you're using. This way you can avoid the misconfiguration. Security misconfiguration can be avoided. The next thing, security misconfiguration and vulnerability outdated components are going to be similar only. So vulnerable and outdated component is something like when you're using an outdated component. Okay, outdated component in the sense you're using antivirus software. Okay, that antivirus software is not up to date. You're using an older version. So when you use an older version and when you use the latest version, there is a difference between them, old and new. Okay, what happens when you're using some sort of what is that, firewall? You think you're using some sort of protection to your system, but it is outdated. So when you use an outdated component, what happens is there would be a frameworks. Okay, there would be a malicious. So imagine this is going to be your system. Okay, this is going to be a system and you're trying to provide it with the antivirus software. An antivirus software is being provided so that it protects your system. When this is outdated, what happens? It has some list of frameworks, you can tell. Okay, that list of frameworks is going to have list of malicious activity, whatever happened. Okay, so this list of malicious activity, okay, this would have some features into it, services running into it, right? When I'm using some unwanted or illegal website, this has a permission to tell me, or this is going to notify and tell me this legal is this website is illegal or this website is dangerous, right? How is this application is able to notify, how it is able to figure it out whether the application is illegal? Because it has a list of framework into it, or you can tell it has a list of libraries, or it has a list of malicious activity which has previously happened. When those are matching, okay, those website and those list of malicious activity which is running inside the antivirus software, those are matching, then it would give you a notification telling yes, there is an error or there is an issue, don't download. If you download, there would be a damage which is going to happen, there would be some sensitive information, or there would be a potential damage is going to happen. The connection is not secure, it would be giving you. When you keep this outdated component, okay, when you keep an antivirus software which is not up to date, what happens? It would not be able to figure out all the latest website, right? So there might be a latest website you're trying to use it, but that has not been updated to the antivirus software. That is why we need to keep our services, we need to keep our networks, we need to keep our application up to date so that it has an up to date malicious activity or malicious data being listed into the antivirus software or any defenders you can have. That is what vulnerable and outdated components would be doing. Understood here, everyone? Any doubts with we have 6 attacks we have discussed. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Okay, fine. So yes, it is all theory. You also have a practical. So if you want to know in detail how it is going to work, as I told you, Figure is the best platform where you can work practically. So we don't have much time to understand in the workshop. So I would show you we'll try to solve 2 labs related to the SQL injection and the information disclosure, which would be falling under the broken access control itself. And coming to the identification and authentication failures. So identification and authentication failures occurs when a system failed to properly identify and authenticate the user. Can you show a small phishing attack? Yeah, I would show today. The phishing attacks and those things would be falling under the category of the SQL injections, information disclosure. I'll show you one example on that. Okay, what I was talking about, the identification and authentication failure. So these failures can lead to data breaches, unauthorized actions, and also the exploitation of user accounts. That is when you have a weak password, okay, insufficient authentication mechanism if you use, when you have insecure storage of credentials. What you're doing is you're trying to protect your phone, okay, your system or something. And at the same time, what you're doing is you will be storing up your password somewhere in the sticky notes or somewhere in the, you'll create one notepad and you will try to add all the passwords and keep, or you are working on applications, imagine. Okay, in the applications itself, see here, I will just show you one example. I'm taking a google.com page. See here, this is your website. Okay, this is a web applications. Now, if I want to know the code, if I want to know about the code, there is an option called right click, and you have inspect also. You have inspect, where I'll get to know the codes. I'll know about the codes. Okay. So if you want to know the specific data, so imagine like I want to know about this image. Okay, so I will know the exact code whatever being used for it. So in this code, okay, why am I telling it protect the data, make it secure is here, if there is any login passwords, okay, which is visible. So using that, what happened, an attacker would trick and get into your application and try to modify it. So we need to use an encryption method, or we need to keep our data up to date so that we can avoid those threats or risk which is going to happen on the system. So that is what is identification and authorization is all about. When you use a no multi-factor authentication, there is a multi-factor authentication that is two way. That is, you're using different ways of authentication. First is you use a fingerprint, then you provide a password. Okay, when you use two different or three different ways of password, that is called multi-authentication. Multi-factor authentication. So you have a gate, you try to lock your gate first, and then you have a door, you lock your door, and then you lock your room, and then you lock your cupboard also. These are nothing but different ways of protections you're doing. Then it would be difficult for an attacker to get the thief to get into and break all the things. So if they break one, you would get to know with the help of the security configuration, you would be able to get, it would be notifying it, or if you're using any antivirus software, it would notify, okay, there is some attack which is going to happen, so be alert with it. So if you have those identifications or those authentication being built, then you can avoid those failures, those attacks can be avoided. Then software and data integrity failure. Software and data integrity failure is when the software, whatever you're trying to use, okay, when the operating systems or whenever you're using a configuration which is not up to date, then you would be having an issue with the attack can happen on the software. Security logging and monitoring the failures, this also would be falling under the authentication failure itself. When you don't monitor whatever the activity happening on the website. Okay, then the security logging and monitoring failures would be done. Then the last one is the server side request forgery. So this is SSR is basically a vulnerability that occurs when an attacker can make a server perform unintended network requests on behalf of us. Okay, when you don't keep your server up to date, when you don't use a session or cookies, okay, what happens? There would be unauthorized or unintended network requests would be happening, like for example bypassing or firewall restrictions or retrieving the data can be done. So we'll see one few examples on those. So I'll go back to the lab again. Show you few examples. A browser. So you have the labs here. You have all the labs. I'll show you all the labs how you can go ahead and perform it. See, SQL injection you have, and then we have discussed one by one. Cross-site scripting, forgery, clickjacking. Clickjacking, those who were asking about the phishing attack, right? Basic clickjacking with CSRF token. Using the CSRF token, how can somebody can get into the data. That is clickjacking, we can see. If we have time, I'll show you how it is going to work. Then you have DOM-based vulnerabilities, then you have cross-site, server-side requests or originally HTTP request. Many are there. Okay, one we will try to understand. I'll show you about the information disclosure. Yeah. Okay. So information disclosure in error message. Let us try to understand this. I'll go ahead and select this. Okay, information disclosure is nothing but leakage of your information. So whenever a website unintentionally reveals some sensitive information towards user, then depending on the context, the website may leak all kinds of information of a potential attacker that can include the data about other users such as username, financial information, sensitive data, technical details, and so on. Whenever a application is using a data, when they're not securing the data, when they're using the sensitive data, which is revealing, which is being displayed to a user, then that would be leading to an information disclosure in the error message. So let us try to access this lab. I've already solved it, but it's very easy. Okay. I'll try to access. Before that, we need to turn on the intercept. I'll go ahead. So this is a website. Okay, this is a website. Go ahead and turn. Because I'm deleting the reason because it should not be confusing to you all. That's why I'm deleting. I'll keep an intercept on. When you keep an intercept on, what are you doing? You're going to act as an intermediary between your client and the server. So the request would not be sent to the server until and unless you give a forward. So we are using a proxy method over there. Coming here, I'll select any one of the image. Okay, I would go ahead and select any one of the image. Might be the first image. I'll go ahead with view details. See, it would still loading because we need to send the request. Okay, I'll give a forward. See here, this is the request. What is having? It is product one. I have checked on product one, right? This is the information which I wanted. So I'll click on forward, and in the HTTP request, what I'll do, I need this one. Which one? The first request which I needed. So here I would get to know what type of data, what type of response, okay, is being sent. Now using this product ID 1, let me try to modify this line. Let me try to modify this line and check whether any activity can be done or not. So I'll right click and send to repeater. Why am I sending to repeater? Last time we have sent to intruder. That means intruder help you in it would help you in burp suite, no burp suite, broken access control or the brute force attacks can be done. Here I'm sending it to repeater. The reason behind, like if you want to modify the response, okay, if you want to modify the response, then I would be sending it to the repeater. So I would go ahead and select the repeater. See here. Now here in the repeater, I have a product ID 1. If you want to modify with something with sample or some string I'm trying to modify. Okay, I'm trying to modify the URL. Let me try to send this and see whether what type of response I'm getting from the server. So I'll try to send this, and here it is telling 500 internal server error. That means the request is sent, but it failed to respond it. That is what is 500 HTTP request is all about, right? So if I scroll a bit down, scroll a bit down, I would be able to see the Apache status. Structure of the Apache is 2.2 space 2.3.31. So I'm able to see the version of the Apache which they are using. This is an information disclosure. That is, the data is unintentionally is being revealed to the user, to an attacker. When as an attacker, what I can do, I can use this and solve my lab. So I will copy this, go ahead and try to submit the solution. I would paste this solution, and when I click on it, it would be giving me a lava solved. Because the intercept is on, I'll try to go back to proxy again, intercept, forward, make it to intercept points. Okay. Congratulations, you solved the lab. Understood? This is how information, and you have various different practicals also. This is a simple one which we have seen. Okay. Now SQL, if you want to inject, okay, if you want to inject some activity, inject some code and get into the data. So I'll click on this SQL injection, vulnerability in where clause allowing retrieval of hidden data. If you want to find out the hidden data which is present inside the lab, how do you figure it out? That is what is SQL injection is all about. Let us have an understanding of that. So I'll go ahead, access the lab, and choose this. I can use the third option. We don't have a home. We'll try to use this one. Vulnerability allowing login bypass. Okay. So here, let me go ahead and try to access the lab. So what is this telling? The lab contains an SQL injection. What is SQL injection? You're trying to inject some malicious activity and trying to log into the system. Okay. You're trying to trick the web server. You're trying to trick the web server and trying to logging into the system. That is what we are going to see here. And here, to solve the lab, perform an SQL injection attack that logs into an application as an administrated user. But I know the password. They have not provided the password. So how are you going to trick the server and how are you going to log into the system? That is what we are going to see right now. So I'll go ahead and access the lab. So what I'll do is Let me try to use a browser. Let us try to figure it out. I'll remove all the history. Your history, yes. Now I have a login page. Okay, my account. Go ahead and select my account. Let me try to have my account. I haven't provided any data. Results, I'll try to delete it. Yes, intercept, I'm going to make it on. Okay, and as they told, the username is going to be administrator, and the password I don't know, so I'm going to make it as password itself. Okay, and I click on login. It's loading here. I'll go back over here and click on forward. Okay, forward, forward, forward. See here, the username and the password, whatever you have sent it. Okay, so I will go ahead and try to send it to repeater. In the repeater, if I want to modify anything over here, okay, I'll try to send this, and I would have a look into what to the response. How is the response being done? What type of response I'm getting? Let us have an understanding. See, invalid username and the password. So when you have given administrator and the password you have given as password, you're getting the invalid username. So we need to get a password as, we need to get a sign in successfully. So how will I go ahead and try to do it? With the help of, there is an SQL command which is being used. Okay, the SQL command is an attacker can log into an attacker can log in as any user without the password. Okay, they can use it, but when you don't sanitize it, what happened? This is what happened. They would be able to log in without any user, without any password. How they would be able to do it is, the command is going to be something like this. I would use a string. Okay, I would make this as a string and followed with dash, dash, and then string. Okay, that means this, whatever I'm trying to provide, okay, this query which I'm additionally going to provide includes that I am not going to consider the password. The password I'm making it as blank using this command. I'm going to consider only the user, not the password. Now if I try to send this, okay, here I'm getting some error. The error changed. That is, yes, there is some activity happened. There is some activity happened on the server, but server failed to respond. That means, yes, something is happening on the server. Let us try to go ahead and try to figure it out. So I'll remove this for now. Password, I'll make it as empty. And the username as administrator. And try to send this. Okay, let me give the same thing over here. Okay, as an administrator. Give a single quotation, hyphen, that is going to exclude the password. When I click on login, intercept is on. I need to send, and proxy intercept, I'll give it as log. See, your username is administration and you have solved the log. So this method, I already knew the method, so I have told you. But here, what happens is you need to know about the SQL command also. How are you going to inject it? What are the possibility ways are being used? Okay, there is something like 1 and 0. Okay, by making the condition, when you give 1, by default, the condition is going to be true. When you make it to 0, by default, the condition is going to be false. Okay, this also are being some SQL commands you can go and try to understand it, then this labs are going to be easier. So I'll share you this link in the chat box. So you can reuse it as a reference for your future. Okay, clear? Everybody understood? Clickjacking, we'll try to do one more. Those who are asking about the phishing attacks, right? You have a time? Yes, well, try to do quickly. Clickjacking, when you try to click without user awareness, what you try to do, you try to delete an account. Okay, that is what we would try to understand here with the clickjacking. Basic clickjacking with the CSRF token. CSRF token is going to be a token which help you in managing of the activity whatever being done on the server. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead, access the lab. Uploading. So if you see here, go to a exploit server. You have a web page created normally now, and you have my account. Okay. When in your my account, you would also have an option here. That is the username and the password would be have given here. See, we have a username and the password. So I'll just select this password. And what is this lab is telling it? This lab contains a login functionality and a delete account button that is protected by a CSRF token. A user will click on element that displayed the word click on a decode website. To solve the flaw, so what happened here? You would be giving an update, but in backend there would be a delete option would be done. So how are you going to do this? This is what is the practical is all about. So you will try to add some malicious activity in the code. So you go ahead with the my account. Okay. In the my account, I would add the username and the password. In password, I'll click on login. And there is something known as update the login. So I would try to update the username, the email ID I'm going to give. Might be the email ID did I give you? Email ID. Okay, I'll randomly give some email ID xyz at gmail.com. So when I update the email, okay, so it is telling your email ID is xyz at gmail.com. So I have a go to exploit server. That means you have a server connectivity. Now you would use to modify this activity. So let me try to do this on my main page. Go ahead with forward and forward and forward. So this is an ID, and then section token has been provided, and here if you see on the response, okay, on the response in the line number, if you see login number, see login form, change email, something is there. We have a form ID. See, your email ID is xyz@gmail.com. So we would need to delete it. So there is a form ID is equally delete account. Okay, an action is my account delete, and a method is post. Now, what is the username you're trying to delete? You would go ahead and try to modify over here. What do you need to do? You need to copy your account. Here you would get your, yeah, this one. See, this is your account ID. So you'll copy this ID, and instead of this, you'll try to replace. You'll additionally go ahead and try to add the email ID and try to delete it. So we don't have much time, so I would stop from here. Okay, you can work on this. This you need to, what do you need to do? We have a form ID as delete account. Okay, what is account you're trying to delete? It is not having any email ID nor it has any account number. It just have a CSRF token value, and then it has the delete option. So you can go ahead, and what you can do is you can modify the content. You can you need to just add your account number over here. Additionally, you can give an account ID here. Yes. Value equals to this, and the action, yes, an account number you can give and try to delete your application. So this way, what happens whenever a user going to give a delete account, or whenever a user going to give an update email, what happens? Instead of updating, the application is going to be deleted without a user awareness. Okay. And stop. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Okay then, so thank you all. Good wind up.
Yeah, thank you, Aishwarya. So, students, today is the last day for this live sessions. So, after that, you can continue your recording sessions. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Aishwarya. Bye. Good night.